Hello, it's Julian. It's March 28th. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the places, the homes that I lived in. I'm in Camas, Washington right now. So when I was born in Price, Utah. Our family lived in a mining community called Hiawatha. So I often refer to Hiawatha as where I was born. I was actually born in Price Hospital. I don't remember much about the house in Hiawatha. It had a wood-burning stove that it cooked. You could cook on that, and it heated the home. It was a coal-burning stove. I don't remember too much more about it. The floor was linoleum. And at one point, our family bought the first washer for the community, and that thing ran 24 hours a day because everybody wanted to use it to wash their clothes. I remember a little bit about that. We moved to Springville on Main Street. The address was 528 South Main. The year I turned 5. Before I turned 5, because I was able to go to school after I turned 5. We moved that summer. I remember prior to that spending some summers in Mapleton, Utah, picking cherries. Now, I really didn't pick a whole lot of cherries, but my dad would take vacation, take the family, and there were these little huts at the orchards in Mapleton. Joe Carneseca had these orchards, and then we would stay in these little huts with other families, I guess migrant farm workers, and we would pick cherries for about a week. Well, I wasn't much use in picking cherries being that young, 4, and I was very allergic to ragweed, which was growing in the orchards. So we would get there very early in the morning and start picking cherries, and it wasn't long before we'd have a breakfast that my mom had packed away, and she would put 2 wooden crates out and make a bed for me. And I would lay down on these crates and take a nap while everybody else was picking cherries. So after several years of doing that, we now lived in Springville, so we didn't have to live in those huts. We got to stay in our own home and then drive up to the orchards at 5 in the morning. The year I turned 7, that summer, we moved from Main Street in Springville to Center Street in Springville, West Center. The address was 339 West Center, and it was a half a block from the railroad tracks. That's pretty much where I remember growing up. That home was built in 1888 and had really thick rock walls. It's a good thing there was no major earthquake, because that house was not built for anything like that. It's the house that had the big root cellar and the shack in the backyard. So downstairs there was a master bedroom. Really wasn't a master bedroom, but it was a bedroom, and off of it was the bathroom. Upstairs were 2 bedrooms, basically a boy's bedroom, and I was going to say a girl's bedroom, but Rudy took the other bedroom, kind of kept it to himself. So at first, John, Gilbert, and I slept in the front bedroom upstairs, and then he moved out with the military, and Rudy was in that back bedroom, and he pretty much stayed in that back bedroom until my mission. There was no heat upstairs. The downstairs had a place for a wood-burning unit of some sort. We didn't have one at first, and somebody had installed a little gas heater, and the flue of that gas heater went through the front bedroom upstairs where we slept, but we didn't get much heat from it. So during the winters, it was really, really cold up there. Ice would form on the inside of the windows, And during the summers, it was really, really hot. But that was home. And in the summers, we sometimes got to watch the thunderstorms. That was a lot of fun to watch those storms out those big windows in the summer. There was also a kitchen downstairs, and as long as I remember, we had a gas stove in that kitchen. And around the corner from that kitchen was what we call the washroom. It was a laundry room. And we had bought new washer and dryer for that room. It was a gas dryer. And then later, maybe when I was about 14, we put in another toilet in that room. And we had a freezer in there, so that was kind of an all-purpose room. And then they had a little butler's pantry off of the kitchen as well. So it's a pretty small house to have so many kids. But a lot of the older ones had started moving out and getting married, going into the military or different things like that, and they didn't really come back. They'd come back and visit for a week or two, but not to stay. And at one point, Leonard's daughter Paula came and lived with us for a year. She was kind of like a little sister to me, a little blonde sister. At that residence, there were lots of wild cats in the yard. So I remember a lot of times chasing kittens from these wild cats and catching them. I still have scars all over my arms from those kittens. And that was a lot of fun, but it kept us busy. It was a pretty big yard, and like I said before, we had a big garden, lots of weeds to pull because we irrigated. From that home, I moved up to a home.
Wait, what year was that house built?
So Jennifer's asking what year, and I said I think it was built in 1888. So I moved to a house up on about 800 East and 400 South in Springville. It was a really old home too. I had gotten married to Jake's mom. She had two little girls, Delana Jan and Diana Jennifer. They were 3. And so we were in this really old home. It had a 1/3 acre lot and big garden. We planted it. That was pretty neat. But it was not a very comfortable home because it was so old. And so we moved from that to a town home. I don't remember the address of this town home. We only stayed in there about a year until she left into a duplex that her mom bought her. So from that, I moved back home for like 2 months and then got a little upstairs apartment in this little house. I was there for maybe 2 more months. And then I moved into an apartment on 800 South, 400 East. Jake and I lived in that for quite a while. That little apartment had a metal roof. It was right next to an old folks home, and they had a big gate, chained gate, and I remember sleeping in the bedroom closest to that chained gate and people coming and going all night long, waking me up. But it was home, and we lived there a couple of years until I bought the home on Oak Ridge Drive in Spanish Fork. We moved from that home to come here. And Jake didn't have a lot of runaround space from that house, so my mom would often come and watch him and sometimes take him to her house, which is in West Center, and then there was lots of runaround space there. And I was working just north of Springville at Novell, so it was pretty easy to just come and pick him up and visit them at the same time. The house on Oak Ridge Drive, I wanted a home that was away from the city but had neighbors. And I had purchased a lot at Pablo Creek Canyon in a little neighborhood. And as I prepared to build a home up there, I ran into a number of building permit issues. So I ended up selling that lot and buying a house in Oak Ridge Drive. And it was away from town, but it was in this little tiny neighborhood. And that was really a good place to move. It was so close to BLM land. Jake and the boy across the street, Tommy Frazier, they got to be good friends right away, and they got to just run around the neighborhood. And, you know, they would catch tarantulas and scorpions and just, you know, frogs, all kinds of stuff. And it was nice. That's what I wanted for him, to be able to run around like that and just explore. Enjoy exploring. That's how I grew up, is just being outside, exploring things. That home had 3 bedrooms upstairs and had an unfinished basement, a walled off bedroom, and we put a waterbed in there. It was home. And then when Jennifer and I got married, that was our home. That's where we had our children before we moved here. It was up on a hill. There were lots of deer traipsing in and out, and there's a little bit of wind, not too much wind, but quite a bit of wind. The winters were hard to drive up the road if you didn't have four-wheel drive. Sometimes even if you did have four-wheel drive, it was hard to get up there. Eventually the city made that a priority area when the mayor moved in, or was elected from our neighborhood. Somehow all of a sudden Spanish Oaks became a priority 1 area. So the snowplow started to come a lot earlier and more often, and after that, so then it wasn't too bad. They built a reservoir up above our home, about a quarter mile away from our home, and the Skeet Gun Club was up there before I bought the home, and so we get a lot of traffic the block east of our house going up there, and it also gave us a place to go play with our kids. We go hike up to the reservoir all the time, walk around it. It was a cement pond basically, and it was really nice. Lots of hiking paths around there. So spent 18 years there, and we really got to know our neighbors well. Whenever somebody would move into our street, Oak Ridge Drive, I would organize a welcome to the neighborhood party. And everybody would either come to our house or one of the other neighbors' houses to welcome the new people. And that made us a lot closer to one another. We could rely on one another. That was a good thing. So that would be something that I hope you guys can continue as a Martinez tradition, is having a tight neighborhood and welcoming people into the neighborhood. Obviously, I would do a lot of the cooking for those parties, cakes and different things like that, and I liked to do it. And I was the guy that would organize it and then go stand in the corner and watch everybody interact. I wasn't much of a talker, but I would talk. I just didn't feel the need to be the center of the party. The new people were the center, and I wanted everybody to interact with them. That was a good tradition to start there. I miss it there. I miss the 4 seasons probably more than anything. The home was okay. It had some issues. We had lots of furnace issues until we got a new furnace. But it was home. And I will always remember it fondly for having Jennifer and our children in that home, starting our little beautiful family there. So on my mission, I stayed in a number of places, and that's not really where I lived, but that's kind of typical for anybody on a mission. I don't know if I could rattle off the cities in sequence right now or not, but I started off in a city called Oldenburg, up north, and then went down to Braunschweig. People call that Brunswick. And I can talk more about the mission on another segment.